Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. It is Monday, so you know what that means. That means it's Money Mondays. We created a while back. We started doing themes each morning. There was a different theme for the day that allowed us to address certain topics on certain days that allow people to find their day. If they weren't going to be popping in every day, they could, well, on Thursdays, he's going to talk about this on Friday as well. We moved away from that. There was a lot going on. And I decided to come back to it because I want to be very specific about how I close out the year and how I can contribute to other people. And so we decided, so we are doing um, definitely Money Mondays. Wednesdays are going to be Wealth Building Wednesdays. And there are two different things. Money Monday, it's going to be about revenue generation. Wealth building is going to be about accumulating assets, creating the accumulation and building of wealth. And we're going to distinguish the difference between these as well. Anytime you're generating money, that's money mastery in some way or another. We're going to talk about that stuff on Mondays. On Wednesday, we're going to talk about how you literally set yourself up to build wealth. And it's a process. None of this stuff is going to be fast track stuff. None of this stuff is going to be get rich quick. None of this stuff is going to be that. What I can tell you is when I talk about, for instance, today's topic, 15 reasons why getting rich isn't as hard as you think. And I want to be very clear in defining what rich is versus what wealth is. Rich, as I define it, and everybody has to have an understanding of it, because as you talk about it, your mind is deciphering and interpreting what you want and what you do, and your mindset has a big impact on how everything in your life goes. Your relationships, your money, your career, and so much more is going to be determined upon mindset. You want to change your life, you change your thinking. So you need to have an understanding of what, to me, how I define rich versus wealthy. Well, rich is a growing net worth, meaning that it's not sitting in a savings account somewhere, because if it is, it's depreciating. A growing net worth 5 times that of your annual expenditures. So however much it takes you to live your life every year, you need to have a growing net worth of at least 5 times that to consider yourself to be rich. Wealthy is the ability to live off of assets without having to work. So it's not an amount, it's a system set up for you to live the life you want to live. And you've got the mechanisms in place to where your money is working for you. That's wealth. And we'll talk about that. In the description box, you're going to find a list of 15 reasons why getting rich isn't as hard as you think it is. Now, when I say that, I want to be very clear. Again, this isn't a get rich quick, clean, and all this stuff like this. And we're not talking about just getting rich today. We're going to talk about specifically about one thing, and that is changing your mind from being a consumer focused on consumption to being a creator, solving problems. Is the mechanism and the focus and the mindset that creates and puts you in the situation of being a business owner and being able to develop economic or wealth generations. When I was doing the wealth thing last Wednesday, a relative of mine hit me up and sent me a link to a site that lists 15 reasons why getting rich is easy. Anytime I hear getting rich is easy, I'm real leery of it because it depends on how you define easy. If you're thinking easy is I'm gonna go out here and do a couple of things and then a couple of months I'm gonna be rich, no. If you're defining it as there's a simple pattern that people have been using for years, and if I follow that pattern, I'm going to get what they got. Yeah. Now, easy and simple aren't the same thing, and easy doesn't mean that it's going to happen overnight. It means that there isn't this real hard, complex existence of things that have to happen for you in order you to build it. It means you need to know something. You don't need to know everything. You need to know something, focus on that thing, master that thing, and move towards the next thing. And in time, you'll get there. The problem is we live in a microwave society where everybody wants to have what they want now. So they're looking for the quick thing. They all often get caught up in one way or another. And then what happens is you get tired of pursuing the intrinsic value of true riches and wealth, and you decide, well, if I can't have it, I can at least look like I have it. And so then you lock yourself into consumption, which is the consumer. And the consumer is what drives most economies around the world, because most people are operating off of economies that are only thrive when people spend money. So we live in a debt-based economy. What does that mean? That means that in order for this economy to thrive, people have to spend money. That's why you're always seeing them playing with interest rates and doing a bunch of other things. Why are they playing with interest rates? Because it's a debt-based economy. What does that mean? I need you to spend more money than you have. I need you to see something and want it and can't afford it, but go get it anyway. Why? Because that debt is what underwrites the value of our currency. We are printing dollars at an unbelievable rate, which is creating inflation, which is driving down the value of the dollar, which is why you can spend $150 in the grocery store and look in there and you can put all that stuff in a couple of bags and walk out and leave the basket, because that $150 6, 7, 8 years ago damn near fill up the basket. Not anymore. Why? Inflation. Prices are going up because the value of the dollar is going up. Now, prices can also go up because of scarcity. If there's more demand than there is product, then obviously the cost of the product is going to go up. Sometimes scarcity is real. Sometimes scarcity is created. I'll give you a prime example of created scarcity. Diamonds. There are tons and tons and tons and tons of diamonds in the world. What they do, they hoard the diamonds, they hide the diamonds, they make the diamonds rare by way of locking out access to them so they can drive the prices up. The truth of the matter is diamonds are in huge abundance, just can't get to them. Now, here's the thing. We're going to be talking about in these 2 days. I want to focus on these 2 days. The other days are going to be Focus Friday and Thankful Thursday and all that. That's going to be great. Those are going to be times we really focus on our mental health and a bunch of other things. But here's what I want to talk about. If you're talking about money, first and foremost, on average, it takes roughly about 7 to 7.5 years, average, for a person to go from average to, or poor to average, to rich. 7 years of working a plan with great specificity to get there. There'll be a lot of things that can interrupt it. There can be a lot of things that path. And for instance, a person who is aiming real high and willing to make sacrifices may take longer to get there, but when they get there, they get more. It's a lot of different ways to get there. But the difference is, in most cases, the scenario. So what I did is I put all 15 and my take on it in the description box. There are also a couple of links with access to resources that can help you get started if you decide to move on any of those things in there. I'm going to be talking about these 15 over the next 15 weeks or so, and a lot more. I'm going to be sort of transforming more from inspirational, motivational. We're going to get that. We're going to do that on those days, but informational. I want to be very informational in what we're doing. I want to deliver to you something that you can take, that you can literally apply to your life, that you can work. That's what we do at the Visionaries Institute, is we give you what you need to change your life and have the life you want. It is not a magic potion. It's not some cantation that you say and everything changes. It's a combination of the entire life you live, starting with how you think. So if we're going to talk about, to me, the first thing I think about when I look at this list is economics. Economics, in this sense, what I'm talking about is there are two types of people. There are consumers and creators. There are people who are going to consume things because they think that is what literally identifies them. So you got a bunch of people who want riches but haven't mastered it. And so they've decided, I'm going to look like it. I'm going to drive the Benz. I'm going to drive this. I'm going to wear this. I'm going to have, red bottom shoes. I'm gonna go Gucci. I'm gonna go LV. I'm gonna do it. When I walk out the house, I'm gonna look like $1 million. When the truth of the matter is, the average millionaire is out there in tennis shoes and a t-shirt or a button up and some loafers. The number one car driven by millionaires in America is a Toyota. So people who are good with money understand the importance. I have several people I work with that are clients that are very well done, and neither one of them have luxury vehicles. Matter of fact, probably the most financially set is driving a 20-year-old vehicle and has no intention on getting rid of it anytime soon. And the mindset of the average person who is living that life is about preparation. And what now that person, whenever they decide to take a trip somewhere, never have to think about, do I have it in my budget? Never have to think about, man, can I afford it? Because it's taken care of. I know a couple of people who are very good at that. And they have done some unbelievably remarkable things in an environment in which society says they shouldn't be able to do it. Single parent moms, which that client happens to be. Matter of fact, I know another single parent mom killing it. Um, and they just simply understand the importance of proper money management. They understand the difference between an asset and a liability. They haven't been tricked into believing that their home is their biggest asset if they have a mortgage on it. They understand that's a liability. It goes in the liability column. Until I built enough equity into it, equity X's out what I owe, then whatever is left is now part of my net worth. I have to understand all that stuff. But the mindset, if you don't master the mindset, none of this is going to make sense to you. Number two, you're not going to be able to follow through to it because you're going to naturally gravitate towards what your subconscious tells you should be doing. If you are a consumer, it's a choice, but it's not that simple. It's a choice that's ingrained and inculcated into your psyche at a level that it's a part of your identity. You must spend and buy things in order to have a sense of fulfillment. And you need to understand that if I'm ever going to truly develop riches and wealth, then I have to do something. And so what these Mondays are going to be about is not just riches, but being able to create avenues of revenue streams, being able to manage what you want and understand it. One of the biggest things that I have a problem with is I watch far too many people trusting something they don't control. And you hear me say it all the time, that if you don't have at least two streams of income that independent streams of income that you control, meaning you can't be fired from it, you can't be laid off from it, that if you get up and work it, that stream of income is going to be there. It's going to take market hits like anything else. The economy is the economy. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have dry moments. You're going to have a bunch of different things. But if you have something you control, meaning if I wake up and I work it, it's going to be there for me. Then you are now in a situation where you can hedge against your primary income or you can replace your primary income. What you do not want to do, I don't care how much you make, is have your primary income be your own income. You want to, number one, have multiple streams of income that you can generate, but you also want to start taking what you receive and investing that money into creating passive income. Now that's going to flow over into our wealth building Wednesdays. But what I want to talk about is mindset and revenue streams. The media controls the message. The media controls the knowledge. And if you go back and you read Edward Bernays' book, Propaganda, it gives you a clear insight of just how powerful the media is in controlling the thinking and the thoughts and the behavior of the masses. Whatever the media presents in abundance is cycled through the psyche over and over again until it becomes reality, whether it's reality or not. Many of the things we hold to be true aren't actually true. It's just what we believe, and we literally live our lives based off that belief. You will, in order to maintain your sanity, behave based off of your beliefs, whether your beliefs that you hold are valid or not. You're living off of them. So if you have a belief that says people will respect me more if I'm wearing $200 pair of shoes than if I'm wearing a pair of shoes from Payless, it's going to be hard for you not to go spend that 200 versus spending that 20, because that's where your value is built up. And who doesn't want to be valuable? And so they spend all this time. Air Jordans, $16 tops to make. You're gonna be lucky to find a pair of Jordans $200. Why? Because they've marketed it, they sold you on the idea it's worth it. iPhone is not worth $1,400. You probably make it for 60. But they've sold us on the fact that we have to have it. Not only do we have to have it, we have to have the latest one. So literally people are lining up this past September to be in line to be one of the first to get the iPhone 14. And that goes with other phones too. iPhone is just the number one selling phone in and of itself. But it has a pretty big share of the market. Everybody has, their options. And then if you go into Android, you got all these different Androids from Samsung on up and down. All of those they're sharing the rest of the market. But iPhone had this thing, and they've got people just sitting up thinking, hey, this is how much I'm going to pay for it. And they're paying for it. And if they can't pay it, they'll put it in their phone bill every month and pay notes on it because they've been told that this is a part of what they have to have. And you got, kids that are sitting up telling their parents when it's time for them to get a phone, if it ain't an iPhone, I don't want it. And parents are literally sitting up figuring out ways to get their kids the freaking iPhone. It's amazing how we put ourselves in situations. And this is an attack on anyone. I've been a victim of it. Who doesn't want to do something for their kids? Who doesn't want to, uh, show their kids and give their kids some of the things they didn't have when they was growing up? But here's one of the things that I do want to share on that parenting thing. I think it is important that in certain ways to give our kids some of the things we didn't have. And I think it's important to look at some of the mistakes that our parents made with us and make sure we don't make them with our kids. But there's some value in some of the things our parents taught us that we didn't bring forward. We overcorrected in trying not to do some of the things that our parents shouldn't have done. And we overcorrected, and there are these gaps, and our kids are entitled. The problem is the world is going to eat off of entitled people. The world is going to eat off of people who get their value from their things. The world is going to eat off of people who believe that the more I spend, the more I'll be valued, the more I'll be respected. Now, respect, first of all, starts within yourself. You have to respect yourself enough to do what's best for yourself. And what you have to understand is blowing your money all the time is not going to be better. Build something, take some time, sacrifice, take some years. Like I said, it takes about 7.5 years on average to go from being poor or medial income to riches. That's more than a half a decade. Most people can't see that far ahead. Most people ain't trying to hear it. Most people looking for the quick fix. And everybody's wasting time or blowing things on things that don't work instead of working the pattern. Success leaves clues. Success in any industry leaves clues. Success in finance leaves clues. There are certain paths you can go to. There are roughly 4 ways that you can get there. And, well, 8 ways you can get there. And we're going to talk about those 8 ways, but not today. That's probably going to be in some other segment on Wealth Building Wednesday. What I want to do is encourage you to do the work. What I'm trying to get you to understand is there are people literally out there capitalizing on what you don't know. They're capitalizing on the fact that you've literally been conditioned from the moment that you hit school to think a certain way that serves certain people more than it serves yourself. This isn't being in any way disrespectful or depreciative of people who have jobs. You do what you have to do to make it, but you better make sure that you're getting optimal out of every effort. You owe yourself to get optimal out of every effort. You have 86,400 seconds in a day. Optimize that time. Now, if you look at it and you say, man, I'm doing something I love to do. My boss pays me well for it. My boss gives me the time off I need for my family when I need it. My boss, and there are more bosses starting to understand that because people are leaving the workforce at record numbers. They're calling it the Great Resignation. So there are more and more companies now willing to sit up and say, "Hey, I'll give you this. I'll give you this. I'll give you this. Oh, I'm sorry, we were only paying you this. We'll pay you this now." So now is a good time to negotiate your value in the workplace if you want to be in the workplace. But even if you're going to stay in the workplace, you still need to hedge your primary income with at least 2 other streams of income you control. One of the things we do with Myriad Business Solutions and the Visionetics Institute together is we create opportunities. We show people how to do that. I put the links in the description box. If you want to know how you can set up a company, there's a course we have for you that you can literally do it yourself. Now, obviously, it is detailed because it's step by step how to set up a business online and how to literally start making money within 7 days. If you can't do that and you have a little change saved and you want us to build it for you, we'll build it for you. We'll build you a stream of income that we will literally run for you until you till you hit profit, which means all the money you invest in it, we're going to make it back for you. So you're going to pay us to work a business for you until you earn the money back that you spent on us making the business for you. Then we're going to stay an additional year as a consulting firm so that you can learn all the things you're going to need to learn in order to run that business successfully long term. Now, the thing is, you don't have to pay, but that's just a quick way to get in if you're not detail oriented or you have a problem following through. Because if you take the course, you're going to have to follow through. One of the things that I do with anybody that takes that course is I follow up with them to find out where they are. My goal isn't to get your money, it's to get you successful. I'm gonna get paid. I will get paid for what I do, but it does me no good to get paid if you don't take what I give you and do something. So I'm following up with my guys and girls who are sitting up taking the course. And what I find out more often than not is they took the course, and probably because I didn't charge enough for it, they didn't really have the urgency to act on it, or they look at it and they go, I got to take the first step. Procrastination. Procrastination is the thief of time, people. It's the thief of opportunity. Procrastination is an act of arrogance. I say this all the time. People say, what are you talking about? It is extremely arrogant to put off what you're supposed to be doing today in the belief that it'll be an opportunity to do it tomorrow. That's arrogance. That's taking something beyond your control and thinking you have control over it. You don't have control over whether you're going to be here tomorrow. You don't have control over whether the opportunity that's in front of you today will be there tomorrow. When there's an opportunity, seize it, people. Whatever the opportunity is. People talk about luck all the time, and you hear this old saying that luck chances the prepared. What does that mean? That means that luck is, if you're going to talk about luck, I don't personally believe in luck. I believe in making your own fortunate situations. I believe in whatever George Bernard Shaw said. I believe that people who get on in this world are the ones who get up in the morning, go out and find the circumstances that they need. If they don't exist, they create them. But in the sense of just saying luck exists, that means some sort of fortunate opportunity comes upon you without you having to do anything to receive it. I'll say that happens, but I'll say that here's why I say luck chances the prepared. It's not just that the opportunity comes. What happens if somebody comes up to you right now and says, if you've got $10,000, I've got this opportunity in a year, it's going to be worth $1 million. And you can look at all the numbers, you take it to your finance guy, and your guy says, hey man, I don't know how they came up with this, but it's going to work. But if you don't have $10,000, so what if you were working all the way up to that point, putting money aside, building, trying to get things together, trying to build, and then that opportunity comes, you're prepared. So luck arrived and you were prepared for it. A lot of times we aren't prepared for the opportunity. Other times we simply don't seize it. We have been trained to bypass opportunities because we see the work in it, we see the discomfort in it, we see the pain in it, we see all the things that are going to challenge us in it, and we have become inclined to comfort. We are more worried about being comfortable. We're more worried about being comfortable than we are being prepared, being ready, being better, growing. So what happens? We end up in this box of average and mediocrity. We end up being a part of the median earning class, which is lower middle class. That's where we end up if we have a pretty decent bearing on life. And we have actually been convinced through media, through social engineering and social construction, that having a job that's roughly high five, low six figure is, I've made it. I made $80,000 a year. I made it. That's somebody that just made that in 10 seconds. And the crazy thing is, they're not smarter than you. And for the people who want to buy into the other notion, here's how they get a lot of people. I'm giving you game on an intellectual and emotional and mental level, so you understand that money isn't just about mechanisms. Money is about thinking. Here's another thing they do that keeps a lot of people poor. They make them think that rich people are evil or that rich people have to have certain connections and every rich person did something dirty to get their money. The truth of the matter is that 80%, 88% of the millionaires that exist in this country, and there are 22 million millionaires in this country, one is created every 16 seconds. 1 billionaire is created every day. But they'll tell you that it's scarcity, it's lack, and there's not. God created a world of abundance. There's nothing that I can take from this world that robs anyone else of it because God designed it for abundance. I can fulfill my life and never rob anybody of anything when I understand that. But okay, you got 22,000 out there. 22 million billionaires in the US. 88% of those started poor. Started with nothing, built out from scratch. The vast majority start poor. There are only a few wealthy elites in the world who have this unbelievable mass of generation where we're talking about maybe 4% of the entire population, if that. Most people narrow it down to 1% are the wealthy elite. So everybody else, no matter how rich, are people that are coming and trying to get it from somewhere. They didn't just inherit and live on it, but they will make you feel like if you weren't born with it, you'll never have it. So what happens? Anything I can't ever have, I've got to find a reason why I don't need it. And one way is moral superiority. Rich people are evil. I just rather be where I'm at right now and be good with God than to be. And the thing is, everything is God's. Everything. There is no lack. Everything is God. What do you do with it determines whether or not it's evil. It's not. And for those who want to quote the Bible, it doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money. When you make money the premium, optimal thing in your life, you jeopardize and compromise your character, and you start to do things for it that is not in alignment with true goodness. And that's the problem. It's not the love of money. It's not money. It's the love of money. Money in and of itself is simply a means. It's a tool. It's an instrument. That's all it is. The reason you want X amount of dollars is because you already have in your mind what you're going to do with it. Money is just the means of getting you there. You've got to understand, money isn't the end all be all. No, God does not want us to be in lack. That, let me tell you something. The whole purpose that we're here, no matter what faith you claim, I'm not telling you what faith you claim, but if you claim a higher source, a higher power, the whole reason you're here is a representation of that power. Inside of you is a part of that divine power. And that divine power is just that, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. It is everything that you can ever imagine. And in the representation of that, you do not provide a good representation of the Almighty, the source, God, when you're in lack constantly. I'm not saying you're not gonna hit rough times. I'm not saying that you're not gonna trust me, I've had difficult times. I've been knocked flat on my back. My business is going through growing pains right now. But what if I would rather have a business going through growing pains where I see unbelievable growth in my near future than to sit up and not have one, where I'm waiting on somebody to tell me what they're going to pay me. I'd rather be in that point where I grew something so fast I couldn't keep up with it. I'd rather be in that point, and I'd rather see the abundance of God move in that as it is than to sit up and shrink back and say, man, that's scary. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No. I'm going to go over here and get paid. I have seen people, six-figure incomes, lose their jobs and within 3 months be homeless. Why? They didn't understand money. They knew how to get it, but they didn't know what to do with it. It's not what you get. It's what you keep. And it's what you do with what you keep that's going to determine your movement in this world. It is simply understanding that I can have all that stuff that I want, but I need to have an equation in my mind of how much money I have to have before I buy that bag, before I buy that car. And how am I going to buy that car? Am I going to finance that car? I was talking to the same person last week. that I'm telling you about, and it is a female. It's a single mother, and and we were talking about vehicles. That's how I know that she has a car that's 20 years old. And 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 she said, "Yeah, I'll finance it. I'll finance a car." And I'm going like, "Come on, I'm about ready." She says, "If it's 0%," and most people don't realize they do have 0% financing on vehicles. She said, "I'll finance it if it's 0%." Just the way you think. And so much of life in the way that we consume things is negotiable. We are paying prices for it. For the sake of sin, we're paying the prices. We've been told that our value is in how much is on the price tag. No, the value is on the person wearing the garment. The value is on the person driving the car. The value is in the person that's putting on the jeans. It's not in what you're wearing, it's in who you are. And I tell people all the time, once you understand the power of this, you are never broke. You are wealthy abundant measure. One of the things that I tell myself at the end of my meditation every morning, I am abundant. Not I have abundance, not that I am abundant. Why? Because this mind creates things on a regular basis that feeds me and my family. As long as my imagination is open, I have no limit to what's possible. I just have to explore it. But you've got to have an understanding that it starts here. You're letting somebody else set your value because you're putting all your eggs in one basket. I'm not saying if you have a job that you run off and leave your job, you don't have a way to pay for anything. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that if you need to take a job till you get your bearings. I'm not saying don't do that. What I'm saying is you've got to have a plan to move beyond it. You never trust one stream of income. You've heard all your life, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you wake up every morning and you do it. You go to a job that you hate. Do you realize that 85% of people in this country wake up and go to jobs they hate every morning? 85% are literally miserable. And we're wondering why we have so much sickness and ills. We don't understand the epigenetic influences that take place in environments where there's high level of stress. A lot of people are getting cancer and diabetes and ischemic heart disease, coronary heart disease, and a bunch of other things. And they're wondering why they're struggling to even lose weight, because stress interrupts your metabolism. Stress attacks your organs by way of the hormone cortisol primarily. Every time you get into a stressful moment, your brain, your limbic system, your what we call the reptilian brain, triggers what we call the fight or flight response. What's that? That's where you fear threat. The problem is it's no longer a threat to your physical life. That was years and years and years ago when there was a saber-toothed tiger outside the damn cave. Now it's going in and being micromanaged by your boss. It's going in and dealing with the messy woman at the front desk. It's going in and hearing your coworker complain about their marriage all damn day. It's all these things. And now you're stressed out. And guess what? Your brain has triggered your adrenal gland, which is located right above your kidney, to start releasing cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstreams. Now, in a real life-threatening situation, you would need this. Why? Because you would need to either be able to run or fight. So, but what's happening now is there's nothing to run from and nothing to fight. But it's in your system and it's constantly going. This is what you call chronic stress. It's constantly, your mind is constantly in a state of stress. Your body is constantly being stressed. That cortisol, after being in your bloodstream for 15 minutes, starts to have a negative effect. By 40 minutes, it's having a real negative effect. That's why I tell people in the gym, if you're doing real extreme workouts, you don't need to go past 40 minutes, because that extreme workout is triggering the release of cortisol in your body. Too much cortisol in a long time starts to have a negative countering effect. It's good for 30 minutes extreme workouts or whatever. Or if you're doing it and then you have a recovery period, you let it dissipate and then you build it back up, dissipate. That's different. But if it's constantly building up, it's starting to have a negative effect after a while. You got to be real careful. You have to understand these things. But now you're going into a job. That whole time you're there, you're stressed out. You're doing everything you can to make it. You got to get yourself hyped up. You're committing spiritual suicide and you're slowly killing yourself by way of stress. You should have the ability, and you do have the ability if you really truly think that you have to be willing to sit up and say, this isn't good for me, and be willing to make a choice. See, people love talking about faith. People love talking about faith, but very few people are really ready to live faith, because see, faith is going to call you into the realm of uncertainty. That's what faith is. Faith isn't even activated until you move into an area where you're not certain where the outcome is going to be. You believe and you trust that it's going to be a certain way, but you can't get, see, as long as I can sit and put 2 plus 2 together and say, if I do 4, 4, 4, and it's going to be 16 and all that, then that doesn't require faith. That just requires action. I've already worked it out. I know it'll work. I know for a fact if I get up, it doesn't require faith. Faith is when I'm sitting up saying, I know God has it for me, even though I can't see it. I'm going to step into it. The problem is we don't want to move on that. We talk about it, but we won't move on it. We will trust our circumstances over our faith. There's a point in time where God is sitting up and God is looking. The Most High God, the source of all things, is looking at you and watching you give so much power to your circumstance. Yes, I'm still talking about riches, but I'm talking about mentality. You're giving so much power to your circumstance. God is sending, and God will send somebody to you in a way that'll remind you, don't let what you're seeing make you forget what I promised. Don't let your circumstance convince you of something that is diametrically opposed to what I promised you. You got to move based off of faith. Faith is something that requires you to act before you know the outcome. At my most difficult time, people looked at me and swore I was in denial. Man, you just lost everything. You're going to have to rebuild. You're in a city that you're not from. You don't know a whole lot of people, and you've got to build from scratch. And you're sitting up smiling. You're going to homeless shelters and serving the homeless people, and you're setting up food trucks to come serve homeless people. You're setting up all this, and meanwhile, you're going through that. You're in denial. No, see, you misunderstand. See, there's something about faith that moves in a way that I understand my circumstance, but I also have been around in life long enough to know that circumstances are temporal. Situations are temporal. Nothing lasts forever. I understand that I'm moving through something right now. There are going to be storms. You don't get to circumvent the storms of life. So I know there's something in that I'm in right now. But here's the thing. I'm giving very little attention to the circumstance. I'm giving all the attention to the promise. See, there's something in my spirit connected to the Spirit of God that disagrees with the circumstance. And because I disagree with it, I don't have to accept it. The moment I don't accept it and reject it, it has to move out of my way. I am operating in my future while you're paying attention to the present. But that's a mindset you got to have if you're going to act. Because see, when you don't act in that way, when you don't act accordingly to what you believe about your life or what you're hoping for in your future, you douse it with your own limiting beliefs. One of the things that corral more people than anything else is limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs, something mom gave you. Limiting beliefs, something your first grade teacher gave you. Limiting beliefs, something your peers gave. Everybody's talking about what you can't do. That's what gets me with most religion. We do more time talking about what we can't do instead of what we can. You got to understand the word can is a very powerful thing. You plant it enough and you plant it deeply enough into your psyche, it starts to rule your life. You start to look for what you can't do. Just like problems, just like trauma. If you sit up and you let it become the seed of your life, you will look for what's wrong all the time and you'll miss all the blessings in your life because you're focusing on what's wrong. That's a problem when you come to finance. You've got to find the things that are right. You got to move on them. We can sit up and we can blame everybody for everything, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the choices you make. And the first choice you have to make, if you're talking about moving from financial mediocrity or even financial poverty into financial abundance, you're going to have to talk about shifting your mentality before you can ever start practicing the principles of wealth building, the principles of revenue generation, because they're going to be so counterintuitive to what you're used to that it's going to make you extremely uncomfortable. And what you're going to tend to do is back. I love to hear people say it didn't feel right. You know what they're actually saying? It didn't feel familiar. I had to go do something I had never done before and it didn't feel familiar. And what do we do when stuff doesn't feel familiar? It doesn't feel comfortable. We go looking for what made us feel comfortable. That's why people end up in relationships that don't serve them for years and years and years. That's why people end up on jobs that don't serve them for years and years and years. Just because I know it. This is what I've done. This is what I've always done. This is what I'm going. You can't graduate from mediocrity to greatness in that category. And that's all you're doing when you move from poverty to riches, is you're moving from being a mediocre money manager to being a winning money manager. And it starts with how I think. Before I ever can move a dollar, before I could ever make a dollar on my own, I had to understand the principles behind it. So here's the principle that I want you to focus on. You've got to stop thinking as a consumer, where the predominance of your behavior is on consumption, and you now must move over into the realm of being a creator. Oh, that's that thing God gave us, that image thing. He made us in his, that creator. You have the ability to create, but you're going to have to be willing to move in it. That's the thing. And I'm here to tell you, no, it's not easy. That's why, I sort of kind of balked at the title of the information that my family sent me to, because it says 15 reasons why getting rich is easy. If it would have been anybody else, except a few people, including this person that sent it to me, I wouldn't have watched it. But because that person sent it, and I know who they are, and I know just how deeply they look and read and research, and how seriously they take everything, I said, I got to look at it and see what it is about it. Now, again, I'm very careful on the words I use, because I don't want to pass off something as being something it's not. They're talking about, I don't think the average person will say taking a 7.5-year endeavor is something easy. But if you're saying it's a simple step-by-step process, then it is easy. Yes, one God and me, the paradigm shift. You've got to have it. You're going to have to shift paradigms. You're going to have a paradigmatic shift in your life in order to go from being here. It's not simply making enough money. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to get out of poverty is thinking, I can go earn my way out. I'm going to work 3 jobs. I don't know one person. I know a bunch of people who've worked 3 jobs to make ends meet. I don't know any of them got wealthy doing it. I don't know any of them got rich doing it. Working 3 jobs to make ends meet is a survival mechanisms. It means that you're in a state of survival. You can't win in a state of survival. You're just trying to keep your head up. Because here's what happens in a state of survival. When you're in a state of survival, you're worried about today. How am I going to feed the kids? How am I going to pay the 3 bills that have to be due today, or they're going to turn off? How am I going to do that? And all of your energy is focused on that right there. Well, even if you figure it out, guess what happens? There's a tomorrow that you didn't plan for at all, because all you were doing was worrying about today. You've got to get out of survival mode, and it's scary because it's all you've ever known. You've got to get out of survival mode. You got to start trusting the right people. You got to start believing in good. You got to start training yourself to find the good, because there are so many of us focused on the negative. So that's what we're looking for. And I tell you, there's enough of anything in this world that if you look for it, you find it. And then if you're looking hard enough for it, it may not even be bad at all, but you're going to find the bad in it because your mind is built that way. That's how powerful the mind is. You know how powerful the mind is? God outdid himself in creating the mind. You know how powerful the mind is? The mind is so powerful that if you can vividly imagine something, I mean, the smells, the colors, the emotions. If you can imagine that, do you realize that your brain and your body cannot tell the difference between what you've imagined and what you've actually experienced? That's how powerful the mind is. And imagine if you create that image in your mind as a future reality, but you've told your brain and your body and yourself, your inner self, that you've already done it. Well, there goes the doubt of whether it can be done or not. I've already done it. The brain can't tell the difference. That's the power of meditation. That's the power of bringing thoughts into captivity. That's the power of casting down arguments. All the stuff you read in the Bible has power when you understand and you know what you're doing. It's not some mystical put together cantation. It's a psychological process that leads to a spiritual and physical reality that most people don't get to experience because all they're caught up in is the ritual. You're going to have to get this right before the principles start to make sense and come together for you. Look, I'm going to get off of here. I moved a little bit deeper off into this day that I wanted to be on this, but I wanted to make sure we got this Money Monday off to a good start. So in the description box are 15 reasons why you should be focusing on enriching yourself, and that it's not as hard as you think it is. A couple of myths are going to be destroyed. One myth is you need money to make money. That's an old thing they give you to make you feel like you can't make it. As long as you have an idea, as long as you have knowledge, as long as you have an area of expertise, you can trade that expertise. You can trade your time. You can trade for money. It's what you do with the money when you get it. There are so many different ways to move and make money. It's what you do with it when you get it. How are you going to reinvest that into the world? How are you going to reinvest it to making people's lives better? When you become a creator, what you're doing is you're saying, I have a certain skill set. I have a certain talent. And I'm looking at certain problems in areas that I have passions. And I see how my skill and my talent can produce a solution for a certain group of people. You just identified your business. That's all business is, identifying a need or a problem and coming up with the solution. And now you need to come up with the solution in a way that nobody else is doing it. Now you isolate the real people who really want a certain thing done a certain way in specificity. And the more specific you are in doing what you do, the more you eliminate the competition. When you get up in that generic stuff where everybody's doing it like this, it's just now who can grab who in it. But when you sit up and say, I do it like this, I do it like this, I do it like this. People thought I was crazy when I sit up and say, okay, I've nailed the psychology thing. I'm going after neuro-linguistics programming. I'm going to neurosociative conditioning. I'm going after embodied cognition. I'm going to start studying psycho-cybernetics. Then I'm going to move into quantum physics. I'm like, man, you out your damn mind. Yeah, but who else has done it? Who else has taken the time? Yeah, it took time, but I've created something that now puts me in a situation where I'm with rare air and I'm about to start unleashing stuff on people that's going to bless them. That's why you're here. If you miss that part of it, it's going to be real unfulfilling. Because I'm going to tell you, I've been in a place where I had plenty of money, but I was miserable. Why? Because I wasn't operating in purpose. Now it's about putting the purpose and the money together simultaneously. And in doing exceptional and extraordinary things that enable other people and give them permission to step out and be bold in their own lives and do remarkable and exceptional things. Look in there, copy and paste it on something and keep up with it. But there are some links in there for people who really want to start making changes. Check it out. We'll be looking forward to working with anybody who wants to work with us. But we've got some things coming. We're going to try to make this as informative as possible every day. I promise tomorrow I will not be this late getting to you. It'll be earlier in the day, but you can always go back and watch it on the platforms that it's being streamed on because they're staying on there. So again, if you want to change your life financially, in relationships, in your career, in any other way, it starts with how you think. If you don't change, if you don't, and I'm looking at this cap and I'm really freaking out, excuse me. But another thing, outside of money, there's so many other ways that you need to be on your A game. And me chasing my vision for my company allowed me to do something I hadn't did in my life, and that's let myself go. I gained over 50 pounds, had 5 heart attacks in 7 days. People lose their mind when they hear that. They told me if I didn't have the heart I had, I would be dead. And That still wasn't enough to really told me give. I started doing better, but I really wasn't 100% committed to really changing my life. I was up to 258.6 pounds. I mean, literally a pound and a half off of 260 at 5'10". And what happened is last year in September, so it's been a little over a year, I went to go visit my oldest daughter for her birthday, and her husband took a picture of me and her. And they posted that picture on social media. And I'm scrolling and I go to like the post and I'm going, oh, wow. You know, something about that picture with my baby just took me, and I said, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going into 55 looking like that. And so 55 wasn't even a year away. It was 9.5, 10 months away. And 9.5 months away in July. And I set a goal to lose 40. I lost that 40, and then I lost another about 8 since then. So by the time I got back to that year, I'm almost at 50 pounds off. I almost got it all off. In good shape, good stamina. Everything is feeling more lively. My head is clearer. But those are the things. So I'm looking at this cap and I'm going, man, look at all that's gone. You know, that was tight at one point. But again, commitment, that's a mindset. Anybody can let something slip, but it's the commitment to say, this is what I'm about to do, and nothing's going to stop me. I say that all the time. Get yourself in the game. Make up in your mind what's important to you, and don't let anything stop you from having it. It's going to require some energy, some effort, some work. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to invest some time, and at some point you're going to have to invest some money, but I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. Stop skimping on your livelihood. Stop skimping on your health. Stop skimping on your finances. Stop skipping on the opportunity to start something of your own that you create. Step out into space and do something. If you want to truly evangelize God, do it by the way you live your life. Let a person look at you and say, whatever it is you got, I got to have it. And that's how you evangelize. You could talk all day long, but if they watching you go through hell after hell after hell after hell after hell, they're going to sit up and say, well, hell, why in the hell would I want to go do what you're doing? I'm telling. So again, bless you. I hope that there's something that you are able to take away from this. See you tomorrow. We're going to have another exceptional day. And I'll be stopping by and doing other things during the day, but we're going to have these theme days Monday through Friday. And so I will talk to you tomorrow. And you guys have an unbelievable day. And as I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. That's my challenge to you. Live your life on full and die on E. On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day.